And welcome to the Daily Space Weather, looking at the local yellow dwarf, and welcome, local yellow dwarf, to the coverage. Yeah, we're talking directly to the sun today, and we're viewing the local yellow dwarf here at 171 angstroms. We see this active region, which used to be a sunspot, and now contains no ombre, making it a plage. Let's look at some filaments in the north. You see some here in the upper western limb here, in the process of setting. And we do see a coronal hole in the 193 angstrom view, rotating in there, north of the equator, as this other coronal hole rotates through. And by the way, this is about 9 hours. There are the date stamps. Zoom out, give you the full view before we move on to more information, as there's plenty to cover. We're even going to bring up Australian fires. And we're planning a video this afternoon featuring Kimberly Nichols, known to our YouTube viewers as Eden'll Do. Now, that active region hasn't kicked up any X-ray flares, and we see a totally flatlined X-ray flux. Showing up as a bright region there, you can see that active region, formerly sunspot 2752. There it is in the GOES X-ray imager. Again, no X-ray flares produced from that. Next, we look at the real-time solar wind. We did see a recent shift in the phi angle here, so we could be getting a magnetic connection going on with that coronal hole, one of the coronal holes. It could be either. So that's something to keep an eye on throughout the day there, the phi angle. And solar wind density at 5.1 protons per cubic centimeter, solar wind speed 342 kilometers a second. Nominal conditions there as solar minimum drags on. Please leave a comment if it's a little cool out where you're located. Leave a comment if the planet's so hot that it's cold. Anyway, there's the ACE data looking corroborative. Magnetosphere is looking quite weak. We do see one induced current flux happen here. It's right there at 720 or so. And I believe that is associated with the shift in the phi angle. That's probably the current sheet shift, folks, as we are probably now located in the North Pole charged portion. We'll get to it in a minute on the Gong 2 data. First, let's look at the geospace ground magnetic perturbations. And there you see that small induced current spike. Sorry about that, folks. The thing refreshed itself. See another view. Here comes that current spike around 720. That's probably a magnetic shift caused by the changed polarity of the current sheet. We'll get to it in a minute. First, we'll let this play through, gathering 4 hours of data as we do every day here on the Daily Space Weather. And let's talk about 10.7 centimeter radial flux. Well, it's now up to 71. Right on this line, basically, which we drew in at 70 solar flux units to show you what solar minimum is like. Here's the continued forecasted spiky magnetometer readings. No surprise there, although it should smooth out depending on the next portions of solar activity. Here's that Gong 2 data we're talking about. This data 1 hour and 33 minutes old. And the field lines are showing the Earth very close to the green portion. We're probably already in there, folks, and that was probably that shift in the phi angle. We did see a small little protonic spike there also, but it was quite minor, with a small uptick in the solar wind density at that same time. You can see some plasma suspended out here. That's associated with that active region. And just keep in mind, magnetic environments can change with no warning. KP index back down to 1. And it looks like it's giving me the finger. KP index giving us the finger here on November 14th. We've left links to the Cosmic Rays Station's site. If you want to check that out, go monitor cosmic rays yourself. Don't take our word for it. Look up the data. That's why we put links below the videos. Electron flux is kind of cratered here, kind of flat, as we've had a very weak solar wind for several days. Relativistic electrons are low to moderate. Ionosphere is looking anomalous once again. It's anomalously charged up over the nighttime portion of the Pacific Ocean there, especially in the southern hemisphere. And let's bring up the latest image and move on, as there is still plenty of stuff to cover. There's the current image, this one coming in at 8:45 UT. Ionosphere looking a little anomalous today. And we've graduated to the earthquake rundown. Let's look at the last 24 hours of earthquakes. As the 7 magnitude earthquake drought continues, folks. Here we see a 4.7. And it's saying by India, but that's actually by Indonesia. I don't know why it's saying India. Next, we see a 4.6 at Vanuatu, and that one is at 212 kilometers depth. Heads up Oceania for a larger quake at the surface. Again, the 7 magnitude drought continues, folks. Extended period of time. We see an extended period of time here without a 7 magnitude earthquake. And those earthquake droughts typically end in big earthquakes, obviously. Next on the list is a 5.5 at the central mid-Atlantic ridge. This one coming in at 1344 yesterday. Next we see a 5.5 in the southern Indian Ocean, right on the plate boundary. Next is a 4.9 at the Philippines. This one coming in at 1428 UT yesterday. Followed by this 4.3, we see an uptick in Iranian quakes. There's that 4.3. Next is a 5.5 at Guatemala. Close to the largest one of the past 24 hours. I think that actually is the largest one. We've seen an uptick in Central American quakes. Next we see a 4.2, also in Iran. Same location as that other quake, it looks like, or very close. We do see some small earthquakes kicking off in California. We're not going to cover them because they're not over a 4 magnitude. Here we see a 4.2 at Chile. And Western South America is still my choice for the end of this 7 magnitude earthquake drought with a 7+ magnitude earthquake. As we've been seeing deep quakes there. Now that one's not deep. That one's only at 16.1 kilometers. Next you see a 4.3 in Nicaragua, followed by a 4.5 west-southwest of Japan. That one coming in at extreme depth of 421.9 kilometers. Next we see a deep quake at East Timor, that one at 108 kilometers and a 4.4 magnitude, followed by a 4.5 at the Philippines, a 4.6 south of Kamchatka. Here's a 5.5 at the Carlsberg Ridge. That one southwest of India. Here's a deep quake at Chile. Heads up Western South America. I still think that 7 magnitude earthquake drought is going to end in Western South America. Next we see a very deep quake by Fiji. That one a 4.4 magnitude with an extreme depth of 468 kilometers. And last on the list, this one coming in just as we did show prep, a 5.0 at Indonesia. Now we're going to be featuring another video later today, interviewing Kimberly Nichols, known as Eden'll Do to our viewers. And we're looking at Australia real quick here for the carbon monoxide map, as parts of Australia are on fire, causing massive evacuations. Looks like places like Kempsey and Terry and Grafton, and a little bit at Newcastle too. Anyway, there's the carbon monoxide map on windy.com. By the way, they have a great mobile app also. Check that out. And actually, we were looking at a forecast there. So Windy is actually providing a fire forecast, and it looks like it's slated to get worse. Anyway, here's the current conditions. Again, a plethora of carbon monoxide in those areas. And let's switch to and we've switched to pressure here. We'll let this play through 24 hours as we do most days. As those who understand earthquake prediction are aware that anomalous low pressures are associated with earthquakes. There's midnight, and now we're going into tomorrow, and there's about 24 hours from when we made the video. It's 4:05. Do you know where your pressure zones are? Next, we'll do the volcano rundown. We've seen some upticks at Shivaluch. Shivaluch still producing a 33,000-foot ash plume close to the stratospheric boundary. Keep in mind, folks, when volcanoes do a stratospheric volcanic ash and gas injection, those ashes and gases can stay in the atmosphere for a period of years. And those are global cooling inputs. Mount Aso, producing a 6,000-foot plume there. Sakurajima, not sure if that one is still erupting or not. Mount Manam, back on the list, produced a dark ash plume. And there was a shock wave, some sort of seismic activity associated with it, I assume. Sanjiang Api, exploding, producing an 8,000-foot plume. Dakono, exploding, 7,000-foot plume there. Cleveland in the Aleutian Islands has had its alert level raised to aviation color code orange as we see robust steaming. So that one could be preparing to explode also. Popocatépetl, possible emissions. Sangay, exploding, producing a 21,000-foot ash plume. Or Venador, emissions seen in image. Volcanic ash emissions seen in satellite imagery. Sabancaya exploding, 24,000-foot plume there. Nevados de Chilean, continuously emitting. By the way, here's where stuff is in the solar system. There's where it'll be in 1 week. As Venus is lapping us once again. Now let's talk about one of our local oddities. The second largest moon in the Saturnian system, Rhea, named after the Titan mother of the Greek gods, discovered in 1672 by Cassini. Of course, the Cassini probe was named after Giovanni Domenico Cassini. And for all of you Electric Universe nerds, there are some interesting features on the moon Rhea, such as this very large ridge. So perhaps that's something to look into. Here's where stuff is above my head right now. I like to use in-the-sky.org for my star charts. Just put in your information, put in your zip code, your city or whatever, go over here, go to all sky charts. Got all kinds of different features there that you may like. You can even animate the map if you want to know when things set. We've left links to this star chart as well in the description below the video. And we're going to look at Sigma Draconis real quick. And you can see it located right underneath my pointer there. Sigma Draconis, that's where it's located. It's 18.8 light years from the sun, aka from you, give or take 1 astronomical unit, which is a distance from the Earth to the sun. That's about 93 million miles, if you're wondering. And yeah, so we've left links to this article also about Sigma Draconis. It's not super exciting. It does have some interesting features. The star does have an unusually large orbital eccentricity around the Milky Way galaxy of an eccentricity of 0.3 compared to 0.06 for the sun. So significantly more eccentric orbit. And no planets have been detected orbiting Sigma Draconis. Again, links to this article below the video. Are you wondering where the lightning is? Check out lightningmaps.org. Do you hear thunder going on above your head? Lightningmaps.org. Next, we'll look at the U.S. Doppler radar, I think. And there's the animation of that. Snow is beginning to fall in Pennsylvania. as well as northern Ohio, New York. Wintry mix over Colorado and Kansas. And let's move on. And it's the ever popular U.S. water vapor map. We're going to look at this convergence zone over Texas after this plays through one more time. And it's a very turbulent system here over Texas. We've got air masses moving in opposite directions. There's a low pressure system kind of encased by a bunch of massive air there. It's trying to rotate counterclockwise. You can see right in this area over Mexico. Man, oh man, if you're flying a plane across Texas right now, southern Texas especially, expect some turbulence. Respect existence, or expect resistance. Here are the jet streams, and we see extreme meridional jet stream flow in the western world once again. We see a nearly south to north flow over the North Atlantic there, as well as extremely hard curves all over the place. Barely looking like a jet stream. And here's the eastern world. Major anticyclone there over Northeast Asia. And let's move on as there's still more stuff to cover. But first, have you pressed like and subscribe on YouTube? We would appreciate it, as this is the main source of content, although we are all over other social media. So check us out at places like gab.com, Minds, BitChute, oh yeah. But most of all, thanks associate producers for helping to fund the channel via Patreon. Now, we make these videos at massive personal expense, and we are willing to go full-time, but we need to replace a little bit more monthly income first, so help us out on that mission. And the main mission is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, as various aspects of hard sciences get rewritten, such as astrophysics, cosmology, etc. So help us to assist, study, and report on this by becoming a patron at patreon.com/smAsho. Were you aware that Google pays us absolutely nothing for these videos and is a huge scam, and we cover it every day on the videos? Watch yesterday's video. We have an extended section about Google's junkware. And welcome to the That Is Censored and That Is a Sinkhole, the portion of the video where we encourage our viewers to understand the distinction between their and a hole in the ground. And thanks, Smash Team, it's time for bonus features. Do you have an old computer that you don't think works anymore? Check out Ubuntu.com. Download the free Linux software, make a boot disk, and resurrect that old computer. You will be amazed at how effective that old computer is using this free software. Yes, it's an operating system for free. You may not be able to play all your games and operate all of your devices using Ubuntu, but as this software advances, this is free open source software, folks. Check out Ubuntu.com, resurrect an old computer, and profit. Scientists have discovered Buckminster fullerenes in space, and not having any mechanism clear on how they get there, as these things aren't particularly easy to make. Turns out that some folks using electron microscopes have created some in a lab, and it was unexpected to say the least. It turns out that these complicated C60 molecules can be created with an extremely powerful electron beam. And I'm sure you Electric Universe nerds out there are not surprised at all about this, but it is still an important discovery. We weren't sure how it happened, and now we're getting ideas, as we've done it accidentally in electron microscopes. So links to this article from scitechdaily.com, also below the video. And stay tuned for 2 more bonus features, just 2. First, the colorized magnetogram. We're looking at former sunspot 2752, which has now turned into a plage, which, by the way, is a synonym for a sandy beach, because that's kind of the way these things look when they're not a sunspot. Not to be confused with a plague, which is something completely different, and I don't know why it's so mispronounced, but anyway, it's a plage. There's the polarity. It's cycle 25. It's very high latitude, well off of the equator. No surprises there. Let's look for other magnetic organization happening. Not a lot really to speak of besides that one active region. And here's the 304 angstroms view. This view is adept at showing us filamentary behavior. And we do see that filament in the northwest still standing up, as it is suspended by magnetic fields. Here's the south of the local yellow dwarf. Some filaments down there, as well as that active region. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are out. Again, look for another video this afternoon. Stare at the sun. Don't drink. If you drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. And may that solar wind be at your back, and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.